Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Justin with the Millennial Mixtape, and today we're doing an album review of the first solo effort from Hayley Williams. Now, those of you who may not know, Hayley Williams is of course the singer for Paramore, but she's striking out on her own with the album Petals For Armor, so let's see what she's got in store for us. Now, composed of two EPs, Petals For Armor 1 and Petals For Armor 2, and then we have also 5 hitherto unheard songs. Nice. This album plays almost like 3 separate EPs. So there's a mood kind of with each act of the album. So the first 5 songs, they're reminiscent of like Tom York or Radiohead with Bjork vocalizations and stylings in there. The second 5 songs are almost this like Paramore-esque funk, like what Paramore thinks funk is, which isn't, I'm not saying that as a slight in the least. I mean, I've enjoyed, After Laughter and a little bit of the Paramore self-titled album that had that influence as well. So with the second act, you get this kind of more like upbeat, funky sound. And then with the final act, this 80s R&B influence, like I could see like Chaka Khan or Anita Baker singing on this song. And I'll mention that song specifically here in a moment, but it's kind of, it works. It works. Like it sounds good all the way through with a couple of misses. And as far as like the production and the mix go, just a couple. And the themes presented throughout the album, Hayley Williams has undergone quite a bit in the past few years. So there's growth, mental health is a big part of it, strength, this kind of empowerment of the feminine. As Hayley has discussed in interviews, that she's realizing and maturing in her femininity in recent years, like coming out of the punk pop scene and the divorce from her husband, her ex-husband, she's kind of like grown into the woman we see now. And she's explained that in several interviews. I'll try and link some below. Now, I want to detour from the music for just a second, and I know I have a tendency to do this, to talk about the album name. So Petals For Armor, I thought was just such a great descriptor, right? So it's Hayley has said in an interview that she realized the best way to protect herself was to be vulnerable. She says, I think for me, it's somewhat of a mantra to try and stay soft in a really, really hard world and feel pain and let all of it come to you and try and put out something that can redeem it, even if it's ugly at first. The lyric is wrap yourself in petals for armor because I kept feeling like the way for me to protect myself best is to be vulnerable and be okay with having a lot of pain at certain times and also feeling a lot of joy at certain times. And so like when I think about the album name Petals For Armor, it's metal, right? Like kind of like a warrior poet kind of thing, right? So it's this idea of like delicacy, but providing strength, and like something is accomplished in the rawness and fragility of her lyrics with this album. So like as you listen to the things that she's saying through this album, like the title of the album totally makes sense. Like Petals for Flower, absolutely this strength from fragility that's presented there. And I think that that's so great. Like she absolutely captured that with the name of this album. And as I'm listening to these lyrics and I'm seeing the cards that are being dealt to Hayley through the past few years, it's like she's really going through something, right? Like, Hayley, are you okay? Like, is there something we can do for you? But like we are the beneficiaries of this creative therapy that she has for herself. Like the songs that she's putting out are just so raw and emotional and great. So great. It's hard not to make parallels and comparisons to Paramore. I mean, she built her career with that band, and I don't want to discount the work that she's doing here, her efforts on Petals For Armor, but Paramore is the starting point that we all know. And so this is her entirely on her own. She's done some solo work as a collaborator previously, but here she's stepping away from the comfort of her band, even though several members of the band pop up, right? So Taylor York plays guitar on the album, and he's also a producer on several of the tracks. And then Zach Farrow, I believe it's Farrow. Zach Farrow is directing the video for Dead Horse. So like she's getting help from her friends, and she's getting, she's not totally on her own, right? Again, not to discount the things she's doing here, but like she's finding comfort from her bandmates in a different way, like a different kind of support structure than she typically has before. Now, as far as sound and production, there's way more funk on here than I was expecting. And again, that's not a bad thing. As I mentioned, Paramore was shifting towards this funk-infused art pop sound once they had their lineup change around 2013 and they put out Paramore self-titled. And then, of course, in 2017, After Laughter was a really big departure from what we had grown accustomed to with Paramore. But here, like, the songs have this ability to make you bop your head, and like you can't really escape it. Like, for instance, I mentioned Shaka Khan. The song Pure Love, like, that's straight 80s R&B, and I would love like to hear Shaka Khan sing that song. Like, it's totally a Shaka Khan song, right? Like, through the fire, right? She could totally do this. So like it's really cool that, though this is the territory that Hayley wants to move into, because I feel like it's not really one that modern radio has a lot of. Like, I mean, you've got your Katy Perry's, and you got your, Charlie XCX, and you've got Dua Lipa, and those people are great. I'm not, there's not a diss on them, but this particular sound with a vocalist as strong as Hayley, like, that isn't something that is going on right now with modern music. And so if this is the trajectory she wants to go into, like, go for it. Like, it already sounds so good. Just, one more album, that polish will be there for sure. Thematically, much of the album revolves around feminine empowerment and embracing femininity, particularly with the song Over Yet. That one's all about empowerment. It's reminiscent to me of Paramore. It's like, it's a jaunty tune. It kind of moves. And then Hayley's belting out the lyrics. If there's resistance, it makes you stronger. It's not the end when there's persistence. So it's kind of this like anthemic, like, you can do this, get up, get over it kind of thing. And like, that's, I appreciate that. Again, knowing the things that she's gone through here recently. Also, it makes sense that Hayley would make a workout video to that song, because it bops. It moves. It's catchy as hell. It's got a very 80s calisthenics class feel to it. So I could absolutely see why she choose this as like a workout song. And the theme of femininity occurs in Roses, Lotus, Violet, Iris, which features backing vocals by the fantastic boy genius, right? I know Phoebe Bridgers. I've talked about her a lot, right? So not in an unhealthy way, I assure you. But I do enjoy Phoebe Bridgers, and boy genius is great. And so they're doing backing vocals on that song. And I mentioned femininity, so this song uses flowers as a metaphor for growing into yourself. It's like this great introspective track on Hayley's journey for finding herself and discovering her own femininity through the trial she's been through. And she stated that she's done this after coming out of a masculine-driven arena, which I can only assume she means the punk scene in particular. And then again, that metaphor of growing flowers is brought back into play later on in the album with the track Watch Me While I Bloom. So it's kind of this recurring theme, recurring metaphor that pops up every now and then. Now, if I have any nitpicks, and it's just two very minor nitpicks, on several of the tracks, particularly in the first act, the first 5 songs, the mix of the bass guitar is a little overpowering. Like, it kind of drowns Hayley's vocals out. On Simmer and Leave It Alone in particular, it's really noticeable how even being just a tad over Hayley's vocals, like her levels, is kind of annoying. Not that it sounds bad, like the bass part itself is really good, just it needs to come down just a little bit. And then the second thing being, I realize that Hayley was hesitant to come out with some solo work. Like, she's, again, going to be compared to the work we know her for with Paramore, and she's kind of struggled with building an identity through that. The experimentation in composition, again, mostly on the first act, and the song Cinnamon is the one that comes to mind. It leaves the song feeling a bit disjointed. Like, for a song about feeling comfortable being at home and like finding home, it's a little dissimilar with the music that is accompanying it. Like, the music is good and the lyrics are good, but when you put them together, they make this weird, like, discordant package that doesn't properly address the song, in my opinion. But I'm curious to know what you think. Tell me what you think about any of the songs. Overall, this is a solid solo effort from Hayley, and it's evident that she's been looking for an outlet to place this kind of unabashedly raw introspection and growth that she's been going through for the past few years, especially after her divorce. And of course, people don't want to focus on that too much, right? Like, no happy marriages end in divorce. So like, you don't want to spend too much time on that. And she mentions kind of details of that in the song Dead Horse. She talks about being the other woman and getting what she deserves, being the other woman first and getting what she deserves. And so, if you want to hear more about that, I mean, she's putting it out there for us. Again, this is her therapy, I'm assuming, and she's giving it to us. It's an excellent examination of growing into one's femininity. And clearly I'm the expert of that. After feeling, a sort of repression, Hayley has talked about that. And a quick point on that, as I mentioned, I am the expert on femininity. But, you know, this album is written in a way that is not exclusionary, like to the point that male listeners need to be afraid. Like I feel as more outlets write the reviews and more listeners discuss it, like that's going to be a topic that comes up and it might turn off a male listener. And I want to say, don't let it. Like if you're a dude who wants to listen to this, listen to it. Like the music's great, the music's solid, and she's a really skilled songwriter. Like her lyrics are good, and the fact that it deals with femininity is not something to run away from. It could help you, right? Like listening to that could help you. And also, any conversation around the idea of mental health is beneficial. Any conversation that pushes that topic into the limelight is going to help so many people. And so taking the chance on an album that you might think isn't for you is something that you shouldn't be afraid to do. Like take that chance and see what you think. I mean, you're going to have your head bopping, right? If you listen to this, you're going to have your head bopping. So verdicts. Petals for Armor leaves me excited for a solo Hayley Williams and what she can do when she's not kind of constrained to one particular genre. I hope we're hearing from her for a long time as far as this style and this sound. Of course, she's going to grow into it and she'll mature and change and things like that. But this style is needed right now. Having someone who can belt with this 80s soul going on. Now, Dua Lipa's a different story. That's different, and I have a review about that that'll drop right here or down there or wherever in the comments or whatever. But it's lyrically strong. It's lyrically mature, musically diverse. This is an album that I'm enthused to continue listening to. So my verdict for Hayley Williams' Petals for Armor is a 4.5 out of 5. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know in the comments what you think about Petals for Armor, Hayley Williams' first solo outing. And if you have any other songs or albums that you would like me to do reactions or reviews to, also put those in the comments. I respond to all of them. And if you like the content I'm putting out, be sure to like the video. If you love the content I'm putting out, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell gizmo when you see it so you're notified of any new videos I put out. Speaking of videos, over here should be another one that you could check out. Go ahead and give that a click when you're ready. And that's it for me. So again, I'm Justin with the Millennial Mixtape. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you in the next one. And until I see you, stay safe, stay well.